Hey there viewers, my name is Torinski and welcome back to another DCSS Sunday. Today we're jumping back into where we left off, trying to get a win with every species in the game, because last week we managed to roll our way through the last bit of Ogre without too many problems, fortunately, and we even got started on our Deep Dwarf, which incredibly just was a god seed for the starting bit of the run. We managed to find a Jivia altar in the sewers on D4 or whatever. First time Delver, first time Jivia, everything was just kind of working out until the end of the stream where we started to run into our first issues, so we'll see how or if we can recover today and see how the rest of the dungeon all unfolds. So without further ado, let's jump back in with good old Big McHuge Stonebeard, the first of his name. And I'd kind of forgotten until I logged on just earlier today to kind of refresh myself. I'd forgotten that we had this self-imposed no identifying things challenge. We'll see how long that sticks around. We might start actually reading scrolls because, again, while we might have had a bit of a breeze through the early start of the dungeon, defenses aren't looking too incredible for our current stage. You don't want to be under 20 AC with a melee-based character. Definitely start taking some hits. So let's see how this all unfolds. Of course, by starting with a quick little peek here, I believe we got the slime rune for sure, because that's just free real estate. I think we got the swamp one as well. We can double check that. We did indeed, and it was just spider that started to give us some issues. We don't have resistance to poison, we don't have resistance to electricity, which is where things got a bit tricky. Largely due to just sitting myself in a corner and letting lightning bolts hit me multiple times, but regardless, still a bit of a rough spot. One potential solution to this was to buy this pair of gloves, get us some extra resistances, but we were also saving up for the Shield of the Gong, hoping that we'd be able to afford this son of a gun. So, I foolishly pushed this decision onto future me, and now already kind of at a loss. Falling Jivia already limits your consumables to not ID and stuff is rough, for sure. No, I think we will go back on that little self-imposed challenge. It was a lot of fun while it lasted, but this is about the time in the game that I probably want a brand weapon scroll. A scroll of acquirement could definitely just shoot us off to the moon in terms of giving us some of the much needed either defenses or resistances. Lots of options, especially since jewelry hasn't been incredible. We have a decent amulet here, nice reflection brand with resistance to corrosion on it. But that aside, pretty basic rings. We're wearing the Ring of Shadows just because we have nothing else for that slot, but honestly it's not doing a heck of a lot for us, so definitely hoping to find some of that stuff, and an acquirement scroll could do the trick. So even, you know what, let's start off this day by changing things up. I'm guessing these 16 scrolls are ID. Perfect. And with that, we can start going through. I'm actually curious. 4, 8, 11. Okay, we can't quite identify everything, but we're surprisingly close. We'll just have 4, most likely potions that we don't know the use of. So without further ado, here we go. Some enchant armor scrolls right off the bat. I'm actually going to inscribe this son of a gun with ADR1, make my job a little bit easier. And there's that scroll of acquirement that we were just talking about. How about that? 4 scrolls of enchant weapon, also going to help us out a great deal here. And the brand weapon as well. Turns out we were extremely lucky in multiple departments, but we just were kind of limiting ourselves. Oh, and that's, whoa, that's all of the scrolls, because we got a free ID on the last one, so that means one more potion that we will actually get to discern the use of here. And we'll start with all of the multi-stacks, degeneration, of course. Gotta have one. And there we go, 69D scrolls, all in an evening's work here. So let us drop that degeneration before I forget, and might as well read the requirement, see what we get. Ring of the Hair. Not quite what we're looking for. It's better than the Ring of Shadows, but still not exactly ideal. Manual of Fighting. could be nice. I think we've used up the initial one that we found. Let's actually take a look. Yes, it looks like we did burn through that son of a gun here. And what else? The helmet is very nice looking. Right off the bat, very tempting. The slay -3 is a bit rough, for sure. Don't get me wrong. But resistance to fire, always need that in spades. A bit of strength offsets some of the damage reduction from the slay. The main issue will just be making sure that we can still hit stuff. I mean, at the moment, the slay -3 is also offset by our plate armor, giving us +3, so not the end of the world there. And we're just wearing, we're wearing a +2 helmet, so we would actually, or +2 hat rather, so we'd lose 1 AC switching over. That probably is tempting. The alternative, of course, is that we take the gold pieces. Normally something that's kind of the lowest priority in a lot of these acquirements rolls, but with 1,000 extra gold pieces, we could go up, we could buy those gloves that we've been checking out, and we could get the Shield of the Gong, all in one fell swoop here. Really shore up our resistances, get some nice defenses thrown into the mix as well. Oh, I've almost talked myself into it, just kind of mulling it over. Well, just so that we're not stuck here forever as I hum and haw my way through the decision, maybe I should just force it here. That is a lot of gold, and the nice thing about that is we actually have some issues getting gold because most of it gets slurped up by our buddy slimes here. So it has been a bit of a mission just getting up to the 1,300 gold pieces that we're currently sitting at. So, you know, I think we're gonna do it. Let's take that, immediately pick up the gold here, and that means we can head off on a bit of a shopping spree. Hop our way up here, and definitely the gloves, and I think we will get the Shield of the Gong. It's going to be a bit interesting. Of course, we've had the shield on a character before in this series, and it's a bit of a trade-off. You become nigh untouchable with your extremely good shielding score, but there are a lot of opportunities for things to get hits in because you're making so much noise that it's almost a constant alarm or mark mechanic going on. But let's pick those bad boys up here. Switch over to the gloves immediately for sure. I mean, we definitely have a bit of a colorful outfit. Gloves matching the hat, always a nice little touch. Fashionista in me is happy there, and we'll also do a search. Oops, not Bryad, but Broadaxe. Maybe it's one word. Broadaxe. Well, let's just look up axe. I thought for sure that we had found one, but it must have gone eaten by a slime. Ah, that's why we shouldn't have dropped that on the ground last time. Foolish me. Well, we still have some war axes available. Do I want to bother enchanting that bad boy up? Probably want to save most of our scrolls for the time being. We of course also have this buddy that would be a good substitute in the meantime instead of enchanting one up. Hungry slimes indeed. Hungry, hungry slime boys. That's okay, we can't exactly blame them. They are what they are. They do what they must. So as long as we're paying attention to this fire vulnerability, we should be good to make that swap over. And if we put on the Shield of the Gong, we lose a lot of evasion, but that shield score immediately popping up to 37. Absolutely fantastic. And now we must decide where we want to go, because we could probably actually head back to Spider now that we have some of those resistances in the bag. Still don't have as high of a defense rating as I would like. I'd really enjoy finding like another enchanted piece of armor. Even a more basic one that we could enchant up ourselves would be nice. I don't really want to have to wait until we fight our way through depths and find ourselves some gold dragons before we can actually put on something a bit more substantial here, though that's very likely to be where we end up in gold dragon scales. So let us head back towards Spider Nest now that we've picked up these lovely additions. At least the fire resistance shouldn't be too much of an issue here. The negative resistance, poison, and electricity is all very nice for a lot of the spiders. Everything's filled up extremely well in the bottom half of the resistance here. It's mainly that fire and cold that we're going to be concerned about. Though, hey, maybe we can find ourselves a nice pair of boots to put us over the edge, since that's definitely something that we're lacking at the moment. And right, we had a bunch of melee around this next corner. Well, we probably just have to bring one out here, and we will almost definitely immediately bring a few friends headed our way as our sound immediately pops up into that purple color. The loudest noise you can possibly make. Hello, everyone else? No? Ooh, War Axe of Electrocution. I mean, it's no broad axe, but I'm definitely happy to pick that up for the time being here. You can always rely more on a broad axe for the final section of the game, and until then use this war axe. The nice trade-off there, of course, is that the electric brand does very well at this stage in the game and starts to fall off a little bit once you get to Zot and there's so many electric immune enemies. And we'll keep using our javelins to kind of take out some of these further targets. That orb spider is in a bit of an awkward spot. We do have reflection though, so I can kind of hope that we just send it back towards them. Because I do want this Entropy Weaver out of the picture as soon as possible. There we go. Ooh, Moth of Wrath is not good. With the Emperor Scorpion as well, that is... oof, a bit of a nightmare here. Gong plus Ring of Shadows is a hilarious combo. The perfect crime. Oh geez, you are gonna hurt really badly. So what do we want to do here? We can always put a body in the way with the box of beasts and step back around the corner. It's a bit dangerous because we'd be heading into unexplored territory and who knows what we'll find down here. Because unfortunately it's going to take a few turns to chop through this son of a gun, and in the meantime they're going to be wreaking absolute havoc back on us. So let's take a moment here. Pull out the patented hands off the keyboard method. Chances to paralyze you, 29. It's not horrible. Definitely has a chance of working, so that's something. Even just wasting one turn early on here to throw out that kind of a solution and see if it sticks could be nice. Alternatively, we may want to throw in like a potion of haste right off the bat here, so we're at least keeping up in speed. Not movement speed, I don't believe, since they're already fast to begin with, but at least getting a few actions in the meantime while we're taking some heavy hits. So let's do that early, since this is going to be painful. You can see immediately right off the bat, even taking some bad poison. And then I'm willing to try one paralysis. Oh my gosh. Never didn't have it. Absolutely fantastic. And then pop around the corner and heal up. So we might have been able to get away with not having the haste potion there, but still better safe than sorry. And I'm going to be doing my best to keep this character alive. And right, we were just talking about this, but the slimes ate all my javelins, so you know what? I didn't need them anyway. Let's just continue on, shall we? Probably not a lot more to find here. Didn't think so. We were creating enough noise that it was pretty likely that anything left would have been brought our way. And in a similar way, I'd like to bring you upstairs for our actual fight. There we go. See, when they're not enraged, no problem whatsoever. It's a completely different story when the tables are turned. Oh, nobody's coming up with me? What happened? Oh, I probably have slime eyes, right? Because I confused them? Bodies grown eyes, which may confuse attackers. Would you look at that? Okay, a few melee, so we're going to be taking some smite damage. I'd like to just allow some people next to me, and we'll take a small gathering here upstairs. Perfect. And that's a bit more manageable. Do we even want to go down this stairwell again? Oh, right. I forget what you do. The Sun Moth. Sticky Flame ranged, and Energy Bolt is not going to be good. That's going to be a rough one for sure. So we definitely need to kill you quickly. Sticky Flame alone, I guess we still have some issues with fire resistance, so maybe we switch to the War Axe a bit earlier than expected. If just to make sure we're doing all right against that fire damage, and I will go to a different stairwell, just play it a little bit safe here. Still try and bring some attention our way, most likely. And in fact, with melee, I'd like to walk you up. Oh, you know, I should have gone diagonal through that corner. Whoopsie daisies. But that's a bit better as we just bring our new friends back to a stair again. And, oh, I always forget how it feels to have the Shield of Gong. It's its own beast, for sure, to say the least here. But I'm going to aim for the melee first, because we will get Simulacrum coming from the Pharaoh Ant, but one is no problem whatsoever. I also need to keep kind of mentally remind myself we're looking for a broadaxe, and if we see one, we need to snatch it up before it gets lost into the slime, as it were. Hello, friends. Oh, Radroach went berserk. Actually, that's kind of better. It's still gonna hurt, don't get me wrong. But I'd kind of prefer that over the Irradiate, I feel. Again, I should head upstairs. That's a lot of berserked friends. And let's see, Uzamancy, probably a decent call here, as we immediately take a ridiculous amount of damage, of course. Okay, so that slime is going to be doing some good work for us. Some good corrosive damage on all these Sons of Guns. Question becomes, do I risk slashing out myself at all? Or should I kind of sit here and heal and let this ooze do its magic? We could also slimify something, which I'm tempted to do, especially with the Radroach in particular. Could turn them into something on our side. It's a bit risky. We're gonna do it. And hopefully our shield does an alright job. Oh gosh, this is rough. Well, here goes. Do get a nice slime summon. And what are our odds of hitting you? You have a 27% chance to evade, so that's not amazing chances to avoid us. I think we do just slash out, and fantastic. A little bit scary for sure. It's nice to get those semi-dangerous situations early on, get me in the right headspace to try and keep ourselves alive while not losing everything, fortunately, this once at the very least. And we'll just keep stair dancing a wee bit with our new friends here. Never didn't have it indeed. Was not worried for even a moment. And there we go, we hit our skill cap on throwing, or the target at the very least here. So yeah, throwing is really nice, but we are going to have some issues just because we don't get that many consumables lying around, of course. So what do we want to train next? I wouldn't mind some more evocations for sure. It's always nice to have on characters like this. Do Moths of Wrath spawn spider? Or did I pull them from somewhere else? They do spawn here, unfortunately. Oh, new spider. How you do. You know, I feel like Ghost of Moth might have always been around, at least in the later floors. But in conjunction with some of the other new spiders, it's a bit of a rough spot for sure. I'll definitely take that stretch redemption to heart here. Nice to get the heebie-jeebies out early on, shake it off, and make sure we're staying relaxed but focused. It's a knife's edge balance that we go for here. And what else do we wish to train? Maybe some more armor, since we are struggling with our armor class. That helps more when you're at the higher levels of base armor class is what I mean, of course. But, of course, we make do with whatever we must. And here's where clarity is doing absolute wonders. We cannot get confused by the tarantulas, so that makes things a lot easier. And imagine if we didn't worship Jivia. Each of these fights bringing us down to this low of health would be debilitating on a Deep Dwarf. I almost feel guilty for not kind of showing a bit of an example of what the average Deep Dwarf run would be like, because it's usually a bit more of a struggle to keep your health around. But hey, we're going for wins here, so let's just do our best with what's handed to us, right? Hello, friends. MG Gong, yes. I do love me some Gong action. It's scary, of course, but oh so satisfying. Oh so satisfying. And we did finish the fight manual. Colgate, indeed. Against redbacks, our poison can be used leading for Deep Dwarf, for sure. Yeah. And Sakuzo, you lost a great form-said Venom Mage with Gong to a Goth Moth. Oh no, I'm sorry to hear it. Or a Ghost Moth, yeah. No, very sorry to hear it, but it happens for sure. Ghost Moth in general can be a rough sell on any caster character, but the Gong giveth and the Gong taketh away, unfortunately. And we just do our best to make do with what's left. But we'll make it through here. It is at the very least doing a good job of shoring up a lot of the resistances that we're currently in a rough spot with. And Sun Moth going down no problem. I'm pretty happy that we did take the swap though, just to ensure that we don't have that vulnerability to fire. Everything adds up, all the little bits and bobs, of course. Next time you're nuking that Moth with an Ice Blast at 15 Evo, that's the ticket. That's the way to do it. No, I've had plenty of struggles over the course of the series with Ghost Moths. I recall in one of our recent characters, I think it was in the Deep Elf, most recent Deep Elf, potentially, maybe the one right before, but we were just constantly needing to leave Ghost Moths stranded on different floors. We'd lure them up a stairwell, read a teleport, go somewhere else, find our way back down, and we had to do that multiple times just to make our way through until we were in a better spot to fight it, but never in the perfect condition as a caster, of course. It's all pretty rough. But okay, we get another set of mutations here. Thin, slimy tendrils emerge from our body. Skin is completely transparent. I'm guessing that's stealth. Oh, and reduces your foe's accuracy. Let's take a closer look at that. So it improves stealth right off the bat, but the accuracy continues to reduce, and we did get 3 pips of that, so that's quite nice for sure, adding on some faux evasion here, as it were. And what else? The tendrils can disarm our opponents. Nice. Not going to do a heck of a lot here in Spider, but if we keep those around for a bit, that could work out. Pseudopods become smaller, which takes away some minor things, but if we can get rid of that mutation, we will also lose the malmutation-esque, or what is that mutation called? Misshapen body or something like that. But we're currently having a reduction in our armor class from this, so it will be nice to get rid of that. So here we go into Spider Nest 4, and this is where things are going to get a wee bit interesting. Oh, immediately land in a mark trap. How about that? Okay, so it turns out we're just going to be bringing friends our way, regardless of Gong status, but it's to be expected. It was going to happen as soon as we got on our first encounter anyway, so hey, let's just take out the middle person. Fortunately, all these undead spiders actually works out quite well for us. We have a lot of positive energy, good vibes going on with this character, because of course Deep Dwarfs start with an innate pip of negative resistance, and on top of that we have a few different equipment pieces helping us out along that line. I do love to see it. In fact, do I want to swap back to this axe? I think I do. We didn't see any sun moths, I don't believe. So that should work out just fine. And we'll keep stair dancing a wee bit here. Right, I guess no undead things can follow us up, to be expected. But here's where that cleave damage comes in pretty nice, and we'll just pop up whenever we start to even lose a little bit of health. Play it safe, make sure we're doing alright. Did my mutations change? Yeah, a decent amount there just a moment ago. Still have a lot of the ones from last session though, if that's what you're referring to. We still have the large pseudopods, gelatinous body, many eyes, exceptional clarity mind. We mentioned against the tarantulas, pretty fantastic stuff. And, you know, I hit tab there, but I actually meant to retreat. There we go. So there is another berserk friend. I don't know why we're not able to see any of our spider friends. I feel like something weird is going on here, or I'm forgetting something obvious. Both are likely. Fortunately, none of the undead things can get enraged by the Moth of Wrath here. I almost said it again. Almost was a Wrath of Math, but not today. What did the pseudopods do? You had them on your Niagara run, but you don't remember? Well, we can take a look here. I believe they add some extra damage. They slap foes when launching melee attacks. And that looks like it. So yeah, it's some extra damage when you're hitting. Like to kill at least a couple of these buddies, get some non-undead enemies next to us so that we can actually lure them upstairs effectively. See, who just walked into vision there? Unfortunately, the stairs are causing me some issues here and we can't see, but there was a unique there with a red background, so gonna be slightly scared to go back down. Ah, hello Nicola. You mad inventor, you? Okay. Fortunately, we're on a good character for fighting Nicola. We just need a good silence, and we should be able to take them on no problem. The issue is balancing that with all these other buddies, making sure that we have enough time to kill our inventor friend while the silence is in effect. But at the very least, we, against what we've been playing lately with all our spellcasters, we can use silence pretty ubiquitously, just throw it out there, no problems whatsoever. So I wouldn't mind if Nicola got next to us. The main issue there, again, is not having too many issues all at the same time. I definitely don't want to be stuck in a spider's web at an inopportune moment. Okay. We're gonna read silence. Nicola's gonna walk next to us, and then we're gonna walk upstairs, and there we go. Not too shabby. Do love to see it. Hopefully you weren't wearing anything good, because all your stuff is already gone. I'm actually not sure on some of the kind of little mechanics there. When they're turned into simulacrum, I believe they're still wearing the armor that they were in life, and then the freezing cloud prevented us from picking it up before our slimes could do their magic, as it were, but not too likely to be an issue. Maybe a nice cloak is about as good as it would have gone. The rapier, of course, not being something that was too interesting to us. What are you again? A Joragumo, bolt of draining and ensnare. Interesting. Well, if I could just take you upstairs, that would be lovely. Must have gotten hit by an Orb of Destruction there. Orb of Destruction hits you. That would be it, because that definitely hurt quite a bit there. I didn't think it was from our Joragumo buddy here. So, we have a bunch of orb spiders waiting for us down here. What do we do with you? start with some boomerangs. Just make sure that we're in a good spot to retreat. This is actually giving me flashbacks to, again, the last run that we had Shield of the Gong with was absolutely surrounded by Orb Spiders once. That one was worse because it was a stairwell in the middle of an open area and they were all around us, and it was so tempting to pop down and just try and reflect everything back at our enemies, but we ended up deciding against it, definitely for the best. And we'll probably try to avoid going anywhere too dangerous once again this time as well. Kuza asks, what's your favorite species so far in DCSS from doing this challenge? Oh, it's a tough one, for sure. Because I hadn't had much experience with ogres, but we had a lot of fun with that run. I would have to say, though, my favorites, probably I'd have to narrow it down to 2. Null is always going to be up there. I really enjoy sometimes just not having to worry about the skill game, and on top of that, being able to pick up and use anything you find in the dungeon is super fun, very rewarding, and allows you to, you know, use a lot of those unrand arts that you find that you've never gone to use in a run before and you just want to fool around with it for a bit. Well, you can do that with Null because it's all over the place. And on the opposite side of that coin, I really also enjoy playing Genie. Though I guess it's not too opposite. The nice thing there is that you just focus on overall spellcasting and take whatever you can get. But I really love the way that Genie changed the paradigm for spellcasters, and because you're stuck into a bit more of a problem-solving, puzzly kind of situation with the repertoire of spells that are offered to you throughout a run, it will so often find you exploring new and interesting ways to play characters that you've never, you know, had the opportunity to explore before because it wasn't necessary. That's how I first kind of realized that Yara's Violent Unraveling is actually kind of a cool spell. I did Genie that didn't have a lot going for them, except the one thing that they did have was slow and Yara's Violent Unraveling, and so that was my only way of killing Hydras for the mid part of the game. And it worked. It just worked. So it definitely opened me up to being able to explore options a bit more, make do with whatever spells you get, and you just might learn that you love a spell that you've just been ignoring your entire time playing. So that's such a fun concept, and I really like what it does for players, for sure. Dang it, I was really hoping not to kill the Pharaoh Ant, but that's fine. Oh, geez. Things getting a bit more interesting here. We don't have good cold resistance, so an Emperor Scorpion turning into a Simulacrum is going to be painful to say the least. So what do we wish to do here? We could read an early teleport and just reset, hop out of here, and come back at a later date. And I'm tempted to do that early here, just in case we get sent directly into the vault. Then we'll want to be in tip-top shape if possible. So let's act early, shall we? I think I will even kill this other Pharaoh Ant because it should wear off by the time we come back here. Or not so much if we're just going to be thrown right next door. That's cool too. This is why we read the teleport early. Still might have time for the Simulacrum effect to wear off. So we'll just let you walk this way. I actually don't really want to stand deep water. And instead, I'm actually just going to let this Emperor Scorpion hit me a bit to not kill them while that's active. We start walking away a wee bit. There we go. And then it wears off, and now we can go back to slashing away without having to worry about turning this into an ice monstrosity, the likes of which we've never seen. Perfect. You see that? You've been playing Formicid, or you've mainly been playing Formicid and Octopode. Love them most since they have very obvious limitations, but a lot of potential. Definitely. Yeah, I would rank them really high up there for me as well. I find that a lot of characters that I enjoy, or a lot of species I really enjoy, do have those limitations, because that kind of folds in nicely with the kind of mentality I have towards the genie, which is just that when you're forced to play in a way that's outside of the norm, it just makes things so interesting. So formicids are a great example of that. Not being able to teleport or use haste effects really shifts the way you think about each and every single encounter you come across, and the way you balance like risk assessment across the board. So I find that to be super interesting and very fun, for sure. And octopodes are just a classic. I mean, it's so fun to go in and just really hope that you get the god topode, who just gets 8 incredible rings right off the bat, and you can just steamroll your way through. And by the time you get statue form, you're just sitting pretty. Super fun. Our Octopode of Zom from a couple tournaments ago was definitely one of my favorite characters that we played through the game with. I must like feel it very much then. Honestly, I do like them a decent amount. The main issue there is that it's a few too many stacking or like confounding issues, because having to worry about constantly being one shot left and right gets a little bit tedious for sure, and then mix that in with the fact that you can't gain defenses. I mean, normally with your low HP species, you're at least able to pack on a little bit of armor. Felids, not so much. Though I say this, I kind of have to throw in the caveat, because the one time that we've played Felid on stream was in our celebration to for like 100 followers, the first 100 followers on Twitch, and it was a 15 rune run, the first one that we did on camera. Got it first try was Felid against all odds, because that should not have happened based on my own kind of experiences. Very shocking. But, I mean, I'll take it. Maybe I'm just absolutely out of control when it comes to Felids, and I'll have no problem when we get there in the series, right folks? I'm sure it will go smooth as heck, and we will not see any issues crop up. And we even started that run as a transmuter, which was not recommended. We knew we were going that direction because, I mean, if you're playing as a cat, you want statue form at some point in your run, no doubt about it. But we started with transmuter and had a rough time with the early dungeon, but somehow pulled through in one piece. I think we ended up losing 2 of our lives throughout the course of that run. Pretty wild stuff. Felid is so far your only win with more than 3 runes? That's wild. Yeah. No, Felids, I mean, I guess they also, much like the gong, giveth and taketh away. We'll see how it goes when we get there in this series. I'm ready to be absolutely cursed by the amount of luck we got in that first try, and it's going to be a bit of a rough shot. You got 5? Yeah, once you get over the hump with Felid, I mean, you still have to worry about a crystal spear one-shotting you, but besides that, again, as long as you have some good options at your disposal, if you're turning into a statue, if you're turning into a dragon, that offsets a lot of the health issues at the very least. And yeah, on that character, we were just murdering the entire screen with Manifold Assault before they had a chance. It was actually very similar to our Ogre run, weirdly enough. They're kind of on opposite sides of the spectrum, but they ended up playing kind of similarly. How do you open up the dungeon overview menu? Control O. This one here? Yeah, Control O. That was one that I didn't know for the longest time, and it's such a lifesaver. So nice to have. I'm curious if it's one of these buttons too. You'd think it would be, but maybe not so much. Yeah, Control O. You didn't know either, Bug You? Yeah, no, it's one of those little bits of info that are so easy to miss, but it is extremely helpful when it is finally kind of pointed out to you. I probably watched someone play and saw them bring it up and ask the same question, and that's how I got that info. Hey Torinski, you recently just got Great Player and wanted to say thanks. I not only provide you with inspiration, try it, but also with lots of very useful knowledge in all my playthroughs. Really appreciate the content. Well, thank you, Egley. No, I really appreciate the support you've shown for us throughout the months here, and I'm super glad that we could help out, even in some small way, with your own playing. That's awesome. Huge congratulations on the Great Player. You're ahead of me. You're doing much better than I am, but that's awesome. Unsurprisingly, GVO was a huge help there, for sure. And yeah, question mark does list a lot of the commands. A lot of good info on this screen. It's pretty dense, as you can see, so it can be easy to miss something crucial, but always very helpful to know for sure. Living the life of Jipia, we do our best. But okie dokie, where do we want to go now? We have our 3 runes, so we just need to make sure we're in a decent spot for finishing up the game, and we should be able to at least start inching our way that direction. We could head to Elf. We're going to be struggling slightly with the lack of cold resistance, and even the fire's a bit rough. Step up, there's a Zot trap in your line of sight. If there are still enemies, for sure, good point. Fortunately, our buddy slimes can't trigger it against us, so that's nice. But, do we want to go to vaults? Which I kind of forgot that we passed by the entrance of, and we didn't finish exploring. But we could head there, hope for a little bit of extra treasure that we can find. Elf, very similar reasoning besides the kind of lack of resistances. I guess vaults also has cold damage in the form of that one... I don't remember their name right now, but the buddy who has creeping cold. It affects you when you're close to walls. Definitely something to look out for. Fortunately, we have the lightning resistance now, so we're doing a little bit better against some of the other potential opponents. But let's start off by just at least checking out our elf, see what it looks like. The nice thing about elf is with 36 shielding and a reflection branded amulet, we should be able to let a lot of these enemies wipe themselves out. Everyone could just walk towards me, that would be lovely. Take our 3 fiery friends upstairs real quick. Lovely. 2 runes now, that's actually 3 now. Doing pretty well. So we do just need to get the final pieces to the puzzle. You know what, I should wait a few turns here, let those summons desubstantiate themselves. Don't know if that's correct nomenclature, but I'll take it. We'll go with it. And just our invisible friend left here. I mean, if they want to keep shooting at us, that's great. That's less great. Bit of ice damage coming through. So let's wait it out and we'll just come back down. No problems. Hello, my pyromancer friend. Goodbye. And let's see what else we can find here, shall we? Should be able to take in a half-decent haul. Oops. Okay, I definitely want to lead most of our new friends up here. Specifically, I'm looking at this Elven Sorcerer, because that Corrosive Bolt and Hurling of Damnation can hurt quite a bit if we're not careful. But no worries. And no broadaxes yet. I do believe that we had one on this character a long while back, but I made the foolish mistake of dropping it on the floor. And so it got eaten up, unfortunately. So we're on the lookout. We're on the quest to gain another one back. And yeah, we do have to be careful against all these pyromancers for sure with the fire vulnerability. Fortunately, it's not fully a vulnerability. We at least cancel it out with our fire protection ring. So we're able to make it through some of these trickier fights. You know what? I will walk into the cloud of flame. Like the Bogart to come to me. Perfect. And not too shabby here. Electric works better when there's fire enemies. Yeah, it definitely is. And in general, it's not bad. A little bit less likely to hit, but you know what we'll do there is we'll actually set this to A, and that makes it a little bit easier for me to remember at the very least, just because we can hot swap between the two. So that's perfect. Short sword of speed. All right. In fact, it's kind of the perfect time to switch over. Colgate keeping me honest here, making sure that I'm not doing anything too stupid. Because you know I'll try. I'll try and fit in the occasional blunder here or there. And all for totally logical, reasonable reasons. It's all for the suspense for the audience. It's not at all because sometimes I'm just dumb. Unfortunately, we all know the truth there. And yes, the crazy Jivia run. Glad you didn't miss this. I'm glad you didn't as well. You managed to make it back, Zelfin. I mean, we already almost lost it once today, so there was a world in which you unfortunately weren't able to continue with us, but I'm glad that we managed to keep it together and hoping that we can make it through the rest of the run in one piece here. It's been too long since we got a bit of a victory streak. It'd be nice to get back on that horse at some stage along our journey.